Hi guys, I'm Anam.
I'm Ksenia, and welcome to This Wasn't in the Manual,
We're two friends and ex-colleagues who worked at the same company for over a decade.
but came from totally different worlds. I'm from Russia and moved to Dubai recently.
And I'm from Pakistan and I grew up in Dubai. Like most people, a lot of the day-to-day challenges or professional experiences we've been through were never really taught to us.
Welcome back to another episode of This Wasn't in the Manual. Today's guest is someone who made a major life move from New Zealand to Dubai, and not just survived, but thrived through it all.
We're chatting with Shreya, who's built an exciting career in both media and tech. She's worked her way across continents, industries, and is now at Snapchat, helping shape the future of digital storytelling. Let's get into it. Hey Shreya, so excited to have you here. Welcome to our podcast. Thanks for coming. Before we get into the hard stuff, we want to ask who Shreya is outside of what Shreya is known for in the professional world.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for both of you for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. I would say outside of work, I am someone that enjoys the simple pleasures and cheap thrills. I mean, you can relate. I love buying expensive coffee and going for a walk. When I'm not at work, I love taking time to travel. And I always try and do at least one new country every year. And that's kind of like my mini goal. Yeah. I just like spending time with friends. I try not to take life too seriously. So, when I'm not at work, I'm not really thinking about work, to be honest.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's all about, for me, self-care. And sometimes doing nothing, sitting on the couch and binge watching some trashy TV is...
Ooh, what are you watching?
Oh, so I've literally just finished You.
Oh, but that's not trash TV. That's still like...
And then I watched The Kardashians.
Okay.
And, I watch a lot of...
I love that. No, Kardashian is my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll keep this one. But that's amazing. I think these things are so important. So when Shreya is not Shreya from Snapchat, she is hanging out with friends. She's just, just unwinding. What is something that Shreya is passionate about that no one would know in her day-to-day life? What's something that you're super passionate about that no one would really guess that you're into?
You know what? I've recently found a newfound passion for my health, and not so much from a physical perspective. I love going to the gym. I love going for walks. I love working out because it helps me mentally. And to be honest, the first thing I do when I wake up is I go to the gym. It just gives me structure to my day.
I love that. Yeah.
And if I don't go to the gym, then I feel like I'm lethargic or something's not quite right. And I'm a creature of habit, so I love routine. So I feel like if step one is off, the rest of my day is kind of off.
I get that. I feel like a lot of times that I don't know if I'm great at routine, but I feel like I thrive on it.
Yeah.
So if I have a routine, I'm my best version. And another thing that someone was talking about when it came to working out, I think it was Steve Bartlett's post actually, where he said, when you go I'm going to work out 4 days a week or 5 days a week, and then you make an excuse and you're like, okay, I have the 6th day or the 7th day. What he did was he removed the non-negotiables. So he just works out 7 days a week. So there's no debate anymore. Yeah. And it really sets you up for the rest of your day. So that's fantastic. So you would say that Shreya, outside of her job title, is a fitness enthusiast. Do you just generally work out, or are you into running marathons, or is that something you aspire to do?
No. I'm not an athlete or anything like that. It's just something I've gotten into, I would say probably in the last 2 years. And just kind of eating clean. That's something that I've also recently started as well. Okay. Just being conscious of what I put in my body. Because it's if you feel good, then your mind is good and you're clearer, you're able to show up for your friends, and you're better to show up at work. So that's something that I don't post. I'm not one of those people that they post in the morning on Instagram or at 6 a.m. Here I am at the gym.
6 a.m. Pilates.
I'm not that.
I mean, I do that sometimes.
And that's okay. It's just kind of
no, I get it. Yeah. So it's more of your self journey rather than some, I don't know, fitness aspiration. It's more of feeling the best you can every day, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. I love that. So it's mostly gymming, and then do you explore different like activities in Dubai?
Yeah, like sometimes like we'll go on hikes or we'll go
Oh,
on
yeah.
like different walks and things like that. I just like getting out.
There's
Obviously,
such a huge influx of like different gyms now.
Yep.
I don't know if a lot of people do this, but I have ClassPass and I am like everywhere in Dubai. There are like 50,000 gyms that you can go to and try classes. So you never get bored. So if you want to set yourself up for success, go work out. I'm trying. You should as well.
That's right. Do you do it every day? I mean, like, do you go to the gym every day?
I go at least 4 to 5 times a week. And then on the days that I don't go to the gym, I try and walk.
Okay,
Walking is so underrated.
It is. It really is, because so I've had body issues for like most of my life. I've suffered hormonal, issues growing up. And the one thing that helped me, and I'm still on my journey, of course, to getting fitter and healthier, one thing that helped me lose about 25 kilos was like walking.
Oh, wow.
Walking was just like crazy.
Honestly,
but it took over time, but it's so underrated. It doesn't spike your cortisol. It's a great movement. It clears your head.
Yep.
And it doesn't like, you shed weight like it's crazy. I mean, more than that, I think it's so great for your mind as well.
Yeah,
Just like
100%.
30-minute,
I
1
can't
hour
agree
walk.
more, because what happened to me, like last week, that I had very exhausting trip, and to be honest, I felt like I had a depression. And on Monday, when I came back from my holiday, you know what I decided to do? I went running,
Yeah.
and it actually helped because I felt so much
Yeah.
better. But before this, I felt so like tired and depressed. But it seems like the movement usually should make you more tired, but in fact, no.
No,
wasn't.
it should
Yeah.
energize
It
you. That
energizes
is
you,
so
for sure.
right. Because whenever you speak to your friends and they go like, "Oh, I went to Europe. I ate so much and I drank so much, but I've lost like 5 kilos." Because they walk like 30,000 steps every day,
Yeah.
because it's intentional. You're like moving, you're in the present. You're not just like clocking in, clocking out and doing a workout. But you're right. I agree with you both. I'm not consistent, but I agree with you both. Shreya, we were talking earlier as well. So I love this. You said that you got into fitness recently. So prior to that, we'll get into how you got here in Dubai and stuff. But you mentioned to me, we were having a conversation before we started, that you had a gap year. Can you tell us something more about that? What that time taught you, and why did you take it, and what that period was like for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I took a gap year back in 2014.
Okay.
Actually, it was the year that I also moved to Dubai. So I'd been working for a couple of years in media. I'd been working for about 4 years. And something that Kiwis do, Kiwis being people from New Zealand,
I'm like, wait, what?
not the
Yeah, no,
fruit,
gotcha.
is that they normally take what's called a gap year or an OE, or overseas experience. But normally they take it straight after university, when it's like, they've got the time, they've got a bit of freedom just before they start full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So, but I actually decided to do it a little bit into my kind of working career, because one, I wanted a bit of money up my sleeve.
Sure.
And it came about a bit randomly, because I had a friend of mine that was going to Scotland for a wedding, and he's like, well, I think I'm just going to make a vacation out of it. I think I'm going to go for about 3-4 weeks. Like, okay, cool. And then later on he changed his mind, and he was like, actually, I think I'm gonna, because I went with a friend on my gap year, and he changed his mind, and he said, actually, if we're going to go for like 3 weeks, why don't we just take a year off and then just go for a year? And it had been at the back of my mind for a while, but because I've been working, I was in a really stable job. I was a bit hesitant, and I was like, well, you always had that thing, your little like voice in your head saying,
Yeah.
well, if you go and you come back and you can't find a job, are you going to run out of money? What's going to happen? Are you going to miss out like on, I don't know, whatever, like
Opportunities,
opportunities.
the next step.
Exactly,
Yeah, of
exactly.
course.
So for me, that was really scary. But yeah, when I took it, I remember telling my parents about it, and obviously my parents being someone that they're very, also people of routine and stability, and you must have a job. And when I told them, oh yeah, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go traveling, I'm actually going to go backpacking for a year, their first reaction was like, are you sure? And why would you do that? Aren't you settled here? And it just took a bit of convincing, and they ended up buying me my backpack that I ended up carrying on my back for like almost a year. And it taught me a lot. I would say the first 2 months, I felt really unsettled. I didn't feel like I could totally let go, because, again, those kind of, I think, thoughts in my mind going, well, if you go back, what are you going to do? What are you doing here? You have nothing to go back to. You just quit your job.
Yeah.
I had no, agenda. We hadn't planned any trips. We just went from city to city. We would go for, taking trains between different cities. We tried to minimize flights because they were too expensive.
Right.
So we tried to do everything a little bit on a shoestring budget. So staying with people.
That's
and
amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible, because you said you like routine, so I assume you're a planner. So that
100%.
must have taken an explosion inside your brain to go through.
Yeah.
And I know that once you go through that period of non-planning, because I've had a very non-similar experience, but a very non-planned year in my life where I just couldn't plan anything. And I feel like it just, I don't know, rewired my brain into a different space that my planning became even more, I don't know, efficient, or just I enjoyed it more. So, but to think that you went around the world backpacking, the people you met, the things you experienced, and the food you ate.
Yeah. Oh my God. I ate my way through Europe. I ate my way through Morocco, because Morocco was actually where we started.
Okay.
But because we stayed in hostels and things like that back then, I was just always inspired by people's stories. For me, I would love to go down in those communal areas where people would be having their food or their lunch or whatever, and just listening to where people were from, what brought them there. And just people's stories. I loved listening to that. And I would get inspired by people. Actually, they would tell us where to go next. So those conversations were really important for us, because it helped us essentially plan our next destination.
Did you ever document this experience, in notes and stuff?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's fine.
I was in the moment. I was present.
Which is amazing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you are the documentation, who sits here in front of us. What was your favorite place, would you say?
And how many countries did you visit?
Oh God, I can't count. At least it was Morocco. It was Spain. I went to France. I went to Italy, Greece,
Damn,
Portugal.
that's
But my
amazing.
highlight, funnily enough, was Albania.
Oh,
It is beautiful.
weren't we just discussing that?
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
stunning. It's almost like a cheaper version of Greece.
Oh,
And
really?
it's just untouched beauty, beautiful beaches. And I remember going we used to fly to the capital, which is Tirana. And that movie Taken had come out, the one with Liam Neeson and this Albanian.
That's so funny.
And
Yeah,
then
I know where this is going.
literally we went to the information center, and the person was like, "Oh, you're from New Zealand? I think you're the first New Zealand people that have ever come here. It's just that when this movie came out, our tourism went down." Because of this movie. And I'm like, you're joking. And we ended up just traveling around Albania, went to this place called Himare, which is just the most stunning beaches I've ever seen. And I'm from
Yeah.
New Zealand, and we have beautiful beaches,
Beautiful
but this
beaches,
is
right.
this is also just a different kind of beauty that I'd never seen
That's
before.
amazing. That sounds so dreamy. I'm wondering if I can take a gap year.
Actually, I am quite curious. Is it common in New Zealand to take gap years?
Yes,
Yes.
very,
Because
very.
in Russia, I don't think that we actually do this. Usually, I see it only in movies, like in these
Yeah.
American movies. That's all for
Yeah.
me. It sounds quite exotic,
Yeah.
to take gap year and just spend 1 year, just traveling. I don't know. Is it common in Dubai, by the way? I know.
No, not at all. Because, like you said, it was so romantic. It's very romanticized, by the
Yeah.
way, that I can take a gap year. Honestly, my journey after school was very different. I did my degree while I was working at the age of 25. But I would say that I took a gap year, but there were so many circumstances. Mine was not a very romanticized version. So every time I saw it in movies, it's not a common thing. The milestones are: you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, you get married, you have children. Standard milestone in the Middle East. But whenever I saw people taking gap years, I thought it was fantastic. Unintentionally, I got to take one and explore multiple industries. So I was lucky that way, that life just put me in situations where I got to figure myself out, which is the intention of the gap years.
Yeah.
But no, it's not common at all. And I see even in the US or like in Europe. I don't know about Europe actually. I know a lot of people in the States who, if they're taking a gap year, it's considered, wow, that's so cool that you're doing that, you know?
Yeah.
And especially if they're traveling, backpacking and stuff. I didn't know. So New Zealand is standard, you're saying?
Yeah, it's so common. Like every time like I'd speak to someone, they'd be like, oh yeah, she's doing her OE, or she's doing her gap year, or he or she, or
Yeah.
whatever. It's also because we're so far away from the rest of the world. So if you're gonna go somewhere, you're gonna probably want to go there for a long time,
Yeah.
and get the most of it. So that's why
that
they
makes
do
sense.
it. Yeah.
I really like gap year, to be honest,
Yeah.
because like I remember myself when I was like 18, 19, I felt like I don't have time, I need to go to study, I need to go to work, because like otherwise people will be more successful than me. That's
Yeah,
why I need to hurry up. But
Yeah.
in fact, right now I'm 30 years plus, and I'm thinking, what did I think about? Like really, I could take this 1 year and just did whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
Because really, it's like it's a good experience. I
Exactly,
like
and you
it.
can take it whenever. Like I
Yeah.
always thought you'd do it when you're young and you know you're wild and free and fearless, but you can actually do it whenever.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
very true.
really encourage people to just take a year off, not because of the whole like, oh, you go find yourself and it's very
No.
eat, pray, love.
Let's
It's
go
nothing
for
like.
it,
It's
yeah.
just
Next year.
Let's make it also, yeah, for sure.
I hope my boss is not watching this podcast right now.
And your husband as well. He's like, where are you going with this Pakistani girl? That's so funny. He's like, I'm waiting for you. Let's take a gap year with me. That's so funny. I honestly, I feel like also, you're right. It's not just about finding yourself. It's also like, you're so young. What do you know what you want to study? And what do you know which field you want to go in? And this is why we started this podcast as well, by the way, because it's like, things we get to experience are just not given to us in a manual. And it's like, go to school, go here. I wanted to be a psychologist when I was in school. Then I became, I went into the culinary industry. I became a chef for a bit. I did random things, you know. So I explored because I did. And I still love the food industry, but there are other reasons why I didn't pursue it as a career. I'll definitely have it on the side someday. But it's crazy to think that in that young of age, we have to decide what our future is going to look like, you know?
yeah.
Studying engineering and you have to be an engineer. Like,
Yeah.
but like the amazing thing about like today's world is the internet is available. People are not necessarily pursuing their degrees. They're venturing out. They're doing their own businesses, which I love. This is one part of the our era that I love, that people are open and it's not a shame anymore. You know, it's not a taboo anymore. But yeah, that's amazing. I'm living in your dream. That 1 year, that sounds amazing.
So I already know that you decided to move to Dubai during your gap year, but I don't know the details. How did it happen?
So again, very random. I was actually in London at the end of my gap year, at the end of my travels, and I had bumped into a friend of mine that was also from New Zealand, living in Abu Dhabi. He was a teacher, and I was asking him like, "Oh, how's it going? And where are you?" He's like, "In Abu Dhabi." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Where's that?" And then he was like, "Oh, it's the Middle East. Did you know it's growing?" I didn't know anything about this region, and it just got me like thinking. I was like, "Oh, okay." So like. He knew that I was working in media, and he said, "Did you know that there's a big thriving like media industry in Dubai?" And I'm like, "Really?" And I was like, "What's it like living over there?" And he would give me like little like snippets of what it's like to live in. And he made it sound like when you're from a country that is so far away, like you don't really get the full picture of what's happening in the rest of the world.
Sure.
And initially when someone was telling me they're working in the Middle East, you think they're working in Saudi, and you just assume all these different things. And when he kind of made it sound amazing and great and open, that's kind of like sparked a little like light bulb in my head, going, actually, no, that's something that I could probably do it. And I think I had the itch anyway, because I just finished my travels. I didn't want to go back home, and yeah, once I went back, and I felt really unsettled after traveling for a while, that I was just like, oh my god, I feel like I've seen the world, and I need to leave. And I didn't feel like New Zealand like had much to give me at that stage in my life. And so I just applied for jobs online randomly for media roles, but I was also applying for jobs in Singapore and in Hong Kong and in Australia, and I was very like I'm gonna see which one comes first, and I'm gonna, the world is gonna give me a sign, and I'm gonna take that. But part of me really wanted Dubai, because I was like, well, if I'm gonna go to Australia, I might as well just stay in New Zealand. It's so close. And if I'm gonna go to the UK, like half of like New Zealand is already in the UK anyway.
Right.
And I was like, I just wanted something that is so different and so out of my comfort zone that, it was going to be either between Dubai and Singapore. And in Singapore, I didn't get the job. Dubai, I did. And literally 6 weeks later, I'd packed my bags. But I'd never been to Dubai. I didn't even read the manual. So for me, I was just like, I'm going to take a risk. And I was like young back then. Like I was in my 20s. And I was like, if I'm going to take any risk, this is
Do
probably
the big
it.
one.
I'll do this now. What's the worst that could happen? I go there, I hate it, I come back. So that's kind of how I
Interesting.
landed here.
So you just applied online on
I applied
LinkedIn or on their website, something like this?
Yeah, it was actually a recruitment firm that was specializing in media roles. So they were looking at like PR, marketing, media. I had an interview. I had to do like 5 interviews for the role. 3 o'clock in the morning, my time.
Right.
So because it's a big
It's
time
interesting
difference.
you say, people living in different markets, they view the Middle East very differently. I had another friend who moved from New York, originally from Colombia, and when she was moving with her partner at the time, now to Dubai, her family's like, why are you moving to Dubai? You'll have to cover yourself. Do you know how it is? Women cannot drive. Like, that's a perception. She lived in New York. It's not like she lived in like any place where like they're not aware of, the world travels or anything. But we forget that the world is so big. Sometimes it doesn't pop up,
And remember, once we had this situation at our work, that a new girl, she was supposed to join our team.
She was very she was Colombian as
well. But then she decided against it because of this all misconceptions.
Yeah, there's
Just
super
stereotypes and taboo.
So much stereotypes. Her partner had lived in Dubai, and his family was here, and he's from another Arab country. So he was able to comfort her. Listen, that's not what it is, But like, there's so many people who carry these misconceptions and these notions about Dubai, which are either Dubai bling or they're like super conservative.
Oh my god!
Like,
every time I go back home, the first thing people ask me is, do you know the people on Dubai Bling?
It's so funny.
And I'm just like, oh my god, that's not Dubai. That is like the wrong image of Dubai.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, very interesting. Let's rewind a bit. So you had time. That you worked in New Zealand, and you're working in Dubai right now. Can you compare the culture between here and New Zealand? I think that I'm mostly interested in work culture.
Yeah. So in New Zealand, the working culture is very relaxed. So think about like, people always say like, oh, New Zealand is obviously a country, but we are in the Pacific Islands. So we're like, I would say like a big island. So it's like island mentality, right? Things are slower, people are laid back, people are chill. It's not to say they don't work hard, but there's no like,
it's not that serious.
It's serious, but the pace is not very quick. At least nothing compared to Dubai. So yeah, but they're very inclusive. They really, really value work-life balance to the point where, like, for example, if you're a mum, they'll give you flexi hours. They make sure that, if you're staying after 5:30, they're going to ask you, why are you here? What's wrong? Do you need help? It's a really good working culture. But the one thing I found it's something that's probably more so in New Zealand, probably in Australia as well, is there's this like it's a social phenomenon called, I don't know if you heard about it, but it's called the tall poppy syndrome. Poppy being a flower. So basically what it basically means, and it's a sentiment, and I felt it when I was working there, and for me it was like my reality, right? And perception is reality. But it's basically what it says is that if you're a tall poppy, you need to be cut down to be at equal level to everyone else. So they really value humility. They really value having people's egos in checks. But on the flip side, what that means is you're not really encouraged to stand out. And if you do stand out, you're kind of not criticized, but people think, like I used to always hear, for example, wow, you're doing so well, you're making the rest of us look bad, or like she's becoming too big for her boots or whatever. So it kind of discourages people from really like
going beyond their
going
limit.
beyond.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's something that like I found like made me, at least when I was working over there, a bit of a silent achiever. So I didn't want the recognition. I didn't want to be almost like called out for doing something really well, because I didn't want my peers and people around me, and I just started my career, to be like, oh, she's a bit braggadocious, or so that's something that is something I felt. And it's something that's actually quite common actually in New Zealand. So everyone's kind of like very much equal.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Did it take a lot of time to get used to this work culture? I mean, in Dubai.
Yeah, it did. And the thing is, because I was moving from media to media, like the principles of the work remain the same. But what changes is, one, the pace. I had never worked at a pace like this when I'd come here, like the long hours, also the scale of how much like we had to take on. I mean, we're looking after massive regions, we're looking after so many countries. So for me, it was more getting used to the ways of working rather than the work itself. And then just being able to work with so many different cultures, with people and the dynamics of that. Very, very different to what I was used to in Auckland.
Did you have moments when you were like, oh, no, that's enough, I want to go back?
You know what? I was kind of like, when I came, I was like, well, it's either like sink or swim, right? And for me, I chose to swim. And for me, once I was here, I was like, I'm going to make the most of it. I never thought I should go back. I always thought like, oh, what they're doing, this is a bit weird. Oh, I wouldn't have done it. Oh, they're not quite following the handbook. Oh, okay. Like, let me just see how it goes. And honestly, I was able to adapt very much to like I don't know if this is right, but like the hamster wheel of things. And I was able to get a grasp of how to like navigate things. So at no point did I ever go like, this is not for me, I want to go back. I think I was also in it, so it was almost like, well, it's too late to turn back now. I'm already in it. But no, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. And now you're working at Snapchat, right? Let's go to talk about Snapchat. So how did you manage to land the job at Snapchat? How did it happen, and when did it happen actually?
So it happened about just over 3 years ago. Still working in media. I was working at a media agency. And I was working on a project with Snap to do a presentation for them. And it was a one-off thing. So I met someone from Snap that was managing this project at that time. We worked together on it. I delivered the work and didn't hear anything from that kind of, like I mentioned, it was one-off. But then I saw a role on LinkedIn for a role that I felt like my skill set was suited for it, and it was kind of agency related as well. And so I applied for the role the usual way. So it was on LinkedIn. So I applied for it standard way, but I did also reach out to that person saying, by the way, I'm applying for this role. Got told, well, you need to apply the usual way. I did, and then I just landed that job. But I do feel like having that opportunity to meet them potentially would have helped.
Like,
opened up a little bit.
Where you understand what the scope would look like.
Exactly. I understood how they worked a little bit.
100%.
And I felt like, this was a place that I definitely want to be a part of. Yeah.
Did you prepare somehow, or you just went straight to the interviews?
No, I prepared. So one of the things that I did was I read a lot about Snap. So I went to their investor relations page. I understand how the company was doing. They talk a lot about their values as well. And for me, it was really important that I aligned with their values. And that's, especially in big tech companies, cultural fit is really, really important. They will not hire someone that they believe is not going to be the right fit culturally for them. Like, you can have the technical expertise and you can have the knowledge, but if they feel like you won't gel culturally, that's not something that they take lightly.
You can teach someone the technical skills. You can't teach someone a good attitude,
100%.
So it's very sad. I think today, even when we look at our companies as well, or we're talking to friends and they're looking for someone in their team, I'm like, and if I'm referring someone, it'll always be somebody with a really, really good attitude, because I'm like, you can teach them your new solution or your new product, but how will you teach them how to be with people,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
and to look at the look at work the way you look at it as well, you know, having a team with harmony. So completely agree with you. I think that should be the standard process everywhere
Yeah.
to have a successful
Yeah.
team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And if someone is aiming at work at Snapchat, do you have any tips or hints that you can give them? What exactly can help them to stand out? How can they get prepared better? What kind of stuff they can learn, or what kind of people they can meet, and how? So any underrated tips you can give?
Yeah, I would say like definitely researching the company, especially whatever company that is. So researching the company, understanding like what their values are, etc. Really important. I would say also like subscribing to publications and industry news. That's really important. Whether that's as simple as like eMarketer to get the latest updates on what's happening in the industry. I think showing interest in the industry, showing that you're up to date, showing that you know you've got your finger on the pulse when it comes to like the latest news. So for me that was really important. And then like specifically to the role, I think it's being honest with yourself about whether you actually have the skill set. Like you don't want, I get a lot of like messages on LinkedIn from people saying, hey, I think I would be a perfect fit for Snap, can you have a look at my CV? And I get so many of these, and I go in and I'm like, this has nothing to do with the role. Like, so being honest and authentic about like whether you actually have the skill set to deliver that role is something that's really important. So yeah, like industry news, researching the company. I would also say talking to people, like that is so underrated. Like networking, like especially in Dubai, like 6 degrees of separation. Like you know someone that knows someone whose sister has worked here, who's honestly, you never know who you're going to meet. So being part of that, I think is quite important.
Genuinely, the last bit about networking, I think people think networking is just about like getting jobs. I think in general, networking will make you a more rounded person, because you're going to be and Dubai is an amazing place to network because you're meeting people from across the world, and the kind of information and the knowledge and the experience they come with, it's not just about like finding a job. There's so many skill sets that you can acquire through meeting like-minded people. A lot of people share this similar core values, but they come from so many different professional and personal experiences that you can learn from. And those skills I have, at least through my life working in Dubai and studying, and like I've had like 5 different lives living here, but I've met so many different kind of people. But I feel like I've become I don't know what the word is, just a person who can apply myself in different situations, just because I know how those situations could work, only because of the people that I've met,
Yeah.
So that I was going to actually ask you, how important do you think networking plays a role in getting into a tech company, or like what's your like one last opinion about like networking in general? Because that was mine, so I would want to know yours. Like, and how does one? Because a lot of people don't know where to start.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to ask actually, because like everyone is talking about networking, and everyone is saying that it's very important. But I think the main pain that you don't know where to start, how exactly you can do networking. So if you have any like practical tips here, it would be great.
Yeah, like honestly, you can find. That's the beauty of Dubai, right? Like you either know someone that's part of a group, that's one. These networking communities are available like so easy. You can find them on Instagram. Like I remember going to there was a group of women that we used to, because I love walking, and there's this group called Girls Who Walk. Yes. So so randomly I messaged the founder, and I said, hey, like I'd love to be part of the Girls Who Walk thing, blah blah. And I actually ended up speaking at one of the events as well.
So cool.
And it was such a nice way to meet women in different fields, like not necessarily tech, but I found them on Instagram. Like it's so simple. And I think the first step is just like getting out of your head. Like I wouldn't say I'm the most extroverted person, but sometimes those uncomfortable situations and like I'm going to be turning up alone to this. That itself is a little bit scary. But once I was there, like it was just so nice to be part of that. And within tech specifically, I'm part of Connecting Women in Tech, which is a network community for women who work in tech. So that's just really nice. And you just feel like a a sense of belonging. You feel like
Yeah.
you're with like-minded people. So I really enjoyed that. But honestly, it's just so easy.
Yeah, you just need to follow. I mean, I think even on LinkedIn, you can just follow like
Yeah.
the people you. There's this whole theory that Mel Robbins also spoke about finding your North Star, the people that you aspire to be like. Just follow their journey online and see what they're up to, what they're doing. Maybe you will learn something unique for yourself as well. And
Yeah.
I think there's no short of communities in Dubai. Anything you can think of, you'll find one.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. And so many events as well.
So many, and I
so
think
many.
they're just gonna
Can't keep up.
growing. Yeah, me neither. Like honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. And even like, I mean, Sunny, you as well. I guess you moved like a couple of years ago, and I know you take part in so many activities. It hasn't that opened you up to new people as well?
No, that's
It has,
actually
right?
also
and
works.
your
And
paddle community as
yeah,
well.
yes. And to be honest, for what I'm doing, I'm not like aiming at professional communities, for
No,
example,
yes,
because
personal,
like I
exactly.
like diving, I like playing tennis, I like
Yeah.
playing paddle, and that's where you also meet people. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And the weird thing is, those are the places where you don't know you might unlock a professional opportunity as well. You don't know. I mean, but go with an open intention to grow.
Yeah.
And I think so many doors open up. I as someone who's lived here all my life, and I have my core friendships, and like my family's here, but I still just love the high of like experiencing new experiences and new people. I don't know, people would call me extroverted, but I feel like I'm in the middle. I do like my alone time as well.
Yeah.
But just these experiencing new things and experiencing new people is just absolutely fantastic, I think, for your own personality and self-growth as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think one last question about career and everything. So if you could talk to yourself, to your 18 years old yourself, what would surprise you the most about your current life in Dubai, or overall about your career path?
Oh my God, my 18-year-old self.
Before the gap year.
Yeah. I would say what would probably surprise her the most is probably how much I've adapted and evolved. Like when I was 18 years old, like I thought I had it all figured out. I was in university, like you were saying, and I'm like, you have your kind of the plan for your life,
Yeah.
right? Okay, you're gonna be, I don't know, married at 25. You're gonna have your first kid. It's always 25. And you're gonna have your first kid at 28, and then you're gonna like have this house, white picket fence, all of that. And if I told her right now that you would be leaving a country, leaving home, and moving to a country that you've never been to,
Yeah.
and be even like here, like this is just crazy. So and also like traveling, but also moving overseas, it really changes your point of view and perspective on a lot of things. And I always find that whenever I go back to New Zealand, like things don't always change back home, but you do, and your perspective on life changes, your mindset changes, especially because you've kind of opened up your mind being here because of the conversations you've had, the people you work with, the life you're living. And yeah, for me, like that would really surprise my 18-year-old self. Like she would be like, you're absolutely joking, this is not going to happen, you don't have this in you.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, I love you, Shreya, because you are just the right blend of somebody who is like, I like structure, I like routine, but you know what, I'm just gonna throw myself off a building and a parachute as well. Like I just love that, because you're not limiting yourself in any way. And I feel like I swing between one or the other, whether I just completely challenge myself or completely go off routine and I don't feel the best of myself, versus where I'm in routine and I'm just like this 8 a.m. this, 9 a.m. this, 10 a.m. I'm like, okay, I'm not living. Like I need to just like figure my space out. But I think it's a constant learning journey, I guess. But
yeah, and I think the growth comes from being uncomfortable, right? Like,
constantly, yeah.
And like I love to play it safe. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I love to like just stick in my little box and I'm okay. Like I don't want to, go outside. But once you do it, it's kind of like that's where I think that's where the learning and the growth comes from. Also from failures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think we get scared so much that we just avoid. I feel like I stay safe and do just enough.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, but let me just like jump a little stair. And I'm like, okay, I can come back at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, the full blown challenge. I don't know if I'm there yet. I guess this is it.
No,
This is one of them.
It's
It's
so
great.
insane, guys, to
Yeah.
be honest, because for me, I'm also thinking about this a lot lately, because like you can just keep living your life as you're living it right now. Nothing will change,
Yeah.
but you will keep your life the way it is. It is
Yeah.
quite nice
It's
right
quite
now.
nice, yeah, we're quite
But on the other
privileged.
hand, you can do something out of the box, you can do something new, and you might change your life, but you never know if you are going to change it to the better or to the worse.
But that's a risk, right? You never know what to expect.
But then I guess we should, I guess in a way, it's amazing that we have great friends and great community around us to help us bounce back
Yeah.
if something goes wrong, you
Actually,
know?
yes.
It's never that bad, unless you're jumping without a parachute, but like,
Yeah.
which is unadvisable, but yeah. This is fantastic, Shreya. I'm actually reflecting as well. I feel like we need to have like a dinner together. This is like, I think it's going to go beyond that. We have, because we spoke about how we want this podcast to be something people can take away from. So Shreya, as like, because I am relating to you so much as well right now, there will be somebody who relates to you as well. You took that gap year, you said you wanted to work a bit and then you wanted some money in hand. Now living in Dubai as well, it's such a expat heavy city, and dreams come true here, but you also need to be careful with your money. So how would you say you manage your finances and your investments? Do you save? Do you invest? And if you have any side hustles that you currently keep to
Yeah.
keep yourself going?
So what I started doing, and this is only recently, when I first moved to Dubai, I was very much focused on the saving bit.
Okay.
I was saving a lot to pay off my student loan,
Okay.
because that was the biggest debt that I had back home. So I spent, a good chunk of time kind of paying that off, and then I started saving. And then I kind of got into about 3 years ago, real estate.
Oh, nice.
So I bought my first apartment in Dubai as an investment, rented it out, and I've recently sold it now.
Fantastic.
So I want to kind of keep that going and find something else. So
Okay.
for me, I always find like real estate is something it's a bit of a safe bet.
Yeah. Do you know that's a common answer we're getting?
Really?
Yeah, and even in regular conversations, I mean, so Senia believes in it too. So
Yes, yeah, especially in Dubai.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not back home where we have a housing crisis back home, but like here, I feel it's a pretty safe bet. So yeah, real estate is kind of one area, and then I have like term deposits and bonds and all of
Sure.
that. But one of the other things I'm starting to get into, I've like literally dipped like a toenail into it, is investing in long-term stocks.
Okay.
So my partner's actually really into it. He's been doing it for about 7 years now.
Okay.
So I know like I can kind of lean on him for kind of
Advice,
advice
yeah.
and like where to invest and how to like diversify my portfolio and all of that. But I'm just kind of getting into that now. So I would say like those are kind of the areas where I'm trying to invest.
That's great. Are you using a partner's help? Are you reading up anything?
Yeah. So we're he's kind of given me a lot of resources to read up already.
Yeah.
And I've opened an account to start kind of
Great.
investing and things like that. But I'm trying to figure out like if I'm going to invest in certain companies, which ones would it need to be in?
Sure.
So yeah, I'm kind of in that early
Okay, that's
exploration
good.
stage.
Better late than never. I think
know.
that's
I know.
fantastic.
Sometimes like I feel like they don't teach you these things in
At
school.
all. No, like at all. I think this question is so important to me because coming from a South Asian family, we've been told you invest in gold
Yep.
or you save money.
Yep.
You know, that's not the best
Under
way.
the pillow, right?
That's under the pillow. Literally under the pillow.
Keep it under the
Yeah,
mattress.
and it'll be like hidden away in my mom's cupboard under like 5 things, and I'm like, where is the money? We don't know. Somewhere there. But like also like there's also this like idea that when your money goes into a stock, it's not physically present. It's not gold. It's not physically there, and you lose it, or you're not making informed decisions. So we're never really taught this. Like obviously my brother, and they're very educated. They educated themselves in crypto, stocks, whatever it may be. But everyone has an opinion. But we're not taught how to really balance our life. Yeah, we're told to go do a job, but never on investing. And I'm so passionate about this topic because I'm trying to learn as well, because sometimes I hear investing stuff and I was like, whoosh.
Yeah, same. I'm like, what?
What is that?
Yeah.
And so I'm slowly getting myself into it. I'd love to share some resources
Yeah.
that have been helping me.
Yes, please.
And signing up has been one of the best thing, and onto all these apps. We were speaking to somebody from one of the prop tech apps, And I'm like, oh, I invested like 1,000 dirham in your app. She's like, but I'm like, I'm getting 3 dirhams every 3 months. She's like, yeah, I don't know how much you're getting out of it. But I'm like, it's just hands-on is how I learn. Like,
Yeah.
I'll look at everything. But yeah, I think there should be more out there. Hopefully we'll do a segment on that. I think it's really, really important because there's so many outlets, even in Dubai, for you to access it. But real estate has definitely been our top one. I think with that, we can also ask you, what does success mean for you today?
You know, I was reflecting on success because I think about, you know, sometimes I'm talking to friends or like friends of friends and people I meet at, you know,
Yeah.
gatherings and stuff. And I always think like, oh, they look really successful. They, you know, they sound like they've really made it, you know. So I've kind of
yeah, not all these friends. Yeah.
Sometimes I walk past. It's a joke that I have with my sister. Like, you know, you go to someone's house and they have like the latest Dyson.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they've made it. This is success.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But like, I think for me, success is not. It's not really like a title or a trophy or recognition. For me, it's so simple. It's just being happy, and that can come in so many different forms. And for me, it's like it's a feeling. It's a feeling of like, I've achieved this or I've made an impact here, how tiny it can be, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But for me, it really is a feeling of you know, you've made it means I'm happy.
Yeah.
And for me, that's success. It's not really
Yeah.
to do with anything materialistic or anything like that. Like for me, it's that sentiment of feeling.
I get
of
that.
feeling-
Like, to reach this point, I think that's when meeting people, traveling, reading, just like exposing yourself to different things as much as possible. So you know, so you're not oblivious to the fact that when you see somebody, you're like, oh wow, look at them, they're so successful.
Yeah.
When you meet these people, you're like, no, they have their own set of challenges, you know, like
Yeah.
that they struggle with as well. But I love that. I think that's how everyone should get at, because no one thing will make you happy, and chasing one thing will, once you achieve it, there's like,
And then you're like, what do you do now?
Next.
Now what?
now
I've
you chase
achieved-
the other thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
no, I love that. That's great. Thank you so much, Shreya.
Thank you. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
guys.
We
It was
loved
really fun.
having you. Oh my god, this is
Thank
great. It was such a
you.
great chat.
And to everyone listening, if you ever felt like you are building your life without a manual, let's remember that you are not alone.